So I'm in my my test account, my teacher test account, and when you log into PowerSchool, this is the first page that pops up. One thing to dive into here quickly for teachers is if you are looking to read any of the technical manuals around PowerTeacher and the gradebook user guide, they are linked in on this main page. If you are having technical problems and need to email Perry, you can do that here. Perry responds pretty quickly when somebody submits a help ticket. Other things on this page to look at here is you can do your attendance up here within your current classes. There's also student information. If you wanted to look at student information, I have two, Kermit and Grover. They're nice kids. Oh, not sure what happened there. So to get to PowerTeacher Pro from the main PowerSchool page, you would just click on the PowerTeacher Pro link here on the left-hand navigation. That will bring you into PowerTeacher Pro. The default for my class brings me to grading. Is this, Perry, is this standard for all teachers, or is that? Okay.
Yes, it's standard.
So we'll work through the technical aspects of PowerTeacher Pro. Just some of the basics here. Up above, up top, this drop down gives you all of your classes. So you can see that I have homeroom, language arts, and science. So I'm just going to click into my science class. That when I click into that class, it populates the assignments that I have created for science. If I am a science teacher and I want to create an assignment in quarter one, because we're still in quarter one at the moment, there's two things to consider here. One is this first, over here on the right-hand side underneath my name is the quarter. There's a drop down here for which you can select different quarters. Obviously, if we're in quarter one, you want to make sure that that's selected. Oftentimes when we have teachers wondering about assignments and are not able to see them, we notice that the quarter is not selected properly. So I'm in quarter one, and I'm going to create an assignment. So really, big plus button here, pretty self-explanatory. Hit the create button, and this create assignment comes up. So I want to give my assignment a name, and so I am going to call it Summative 3. So I'm thinking that this is, I've done 3 units of instruction in the first quarter, so I'm calling this my third summative. And I want to select a category. Typically, you'll have these first 4, classwork, project, quiz, and test. I've gone ahead and created my own categories for my own grading purposes, and those are formative, summative, and habits of work. So depending on what you're scoring, you'll want to pick one of these categories. So for me, this being summative 3, I'm going to select my summative category. There's no requirement here. This is just for your own organization. For categories, we're not weighting them. And then the score type, since we're in a proficiency-based system, it's going to be collected only. And then you want to choose a due date. That's, again, you drop down here and you can pick whatever date you want. It could be today, it could be some date in the future. For this webinar, it will be today.
And Mike, if you don't mind, I'll just jump in here and mention that this is the other place we often see errors when people can't find an assignment in a term, because as you noticed, that date defaulted to today. So sometimes what happens is if people are putting in assignments for quarter 1 after quarter 2 has started, that date would default to the given day, and all you've got to do to make sure that assignment shows up in quarter 1 is change that due date to something within quarter 1. So that's just another place we sometimes see errors.
Yeah, great. That's an excellent point. Thanks for that, Perry. And then finally here is just a description. So say I'm going to be doing a seasons or unit on seasons. So that's the first tab here on creating an assignment. The next is students. When you create an assignment, it defaults to assigning this to all students. You can choose to select this tab right here where it says add or remove students. So if you didn't want one of your students in this class to be graded on this, you could deselect them. This is a good feature if you are creating an assignment for, say you did a test and a student needed to redo a test, and you were creating a new assignment for that redo. This would be the opportunity where you could specifically select students to redo that test or redo an assignment. That makes sense, Jeff and Perry?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Third tab is the standards. So this, depending on...
All walkers are dismissed. All walkers are dismissed.
No, it's dismissal time here at Barton Academy and Graded School. So this third tab is the standards page where you can select from your content proficiencies and indicators, as well as your cross-curricular proficiencies and indicators. So if I was doing a unit on seasons, I would, all right, hold on. I think it was the first page there. Maybe I'd select these two. It's important when you're selecting the proficiencies and indicators that you only choose the indicators that you want to score. If you choose the big bucket, like this one, the Earth and Space, Earth Systems proficiency, you're not, when you go to score it in the end, it will not show up on your report card, which will cause a bit of confusion as to why you're not seeing things show up when you know that you've scored them. So only choose the indicator. So for this, I've chosen these two about drawing conclusions and critiquing how the Earth, actually I don't want that one, sorry. Why the Earth is constantly changing. I may also choose a cross-curricular proficiency. So if I'm going to use evidence, if I'm going to have my students using evidence, maybe I'll select that one. So that's the third tab, choosing your standards. And then this fourth one is your publish. So you can choose when you want to publish this assignment and when you want to publish the scores. So you could do it right now, or you could do it on a specific date or days before. You could also, if you were just
Glover bus is dismissed. Glover bus is dismissed.
if you never wanted to share these scores, you could select never. So say you were just doing a formative assessment, you might select never, just so that it doesn't show up on the reporting. So I'm going to just select immediately for this. And so now I've created my summative 3. So moving into summative 3, if I click on that, you'll now see that Grover and Kermit have been added into this assignment, and I'm going to go ahead and I want to show you how to score. So there's 4 different boxes here for each of Kermit and Grover. Underneath the score, when I click into that box, you'll see a toolbar that comes up on the right-hand side. For this, really, it's just about whether or not you're collecting it or showing that it's missing or if it's late. So I can say, all right, Kermit and Grover, they've done it. So I'll click into their boxes and I'll say that they've collected it. You can also autofill those, which is a nice feature. So if you let's select up. So I've deselected Kermit's or unselected. What is that even a word? Deselected? I don't know.
I like that.
All right. So you can fill. That's saying I gotta clear that. So collected. Let's auto fill down. Shows up. So if you know that all your students have turned in the assignment and you wanted to just autofill everything, that is a nice feature there. You can also select any of these other ones. So if it's missing, if it's incomplete, you can also add comments. So for Kermit here, you could say collected, but needs a redo. That would just be a note for you. This would not show up anywhere else on a report card or anything like that. That's correct, right, Terry?
It is available in the parent portal.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
If they were to drill down, they would see that. So it's not super obvious to them, but you do want to not use it as a place to write a private comment. Something you wouldn't want them to see for any reason. Parents and students could see it if they logged into their parent portal. Right.
So a general comment like this would be fine.
Sure.
Right? Yeah. You wouldn't want to have anything much more than that, right?
This kid is a wackadoo and has no hope. You wouldn't want to write something like that.
Okay. Good to know. I'll just make a note of that. So you want to... you'll end up saving all these scores here in a second, but if you click on the following boxes for the indicators that I selected when I was creating the assignment, you'll see a new toolbar opens up now with scores. Since we are, again, in a proficiency-based system, we are using a 4-point grading scale. 1, where they're just beginning to show evidence. 2, where they're progressing towards the indicator. 3, they've met the indicator. And then 4, if they're exceeding it. So we'll just add a couple in here. 2, and again, just using the fill button. Grover got 2s across the board, so you can see that is now filled. Kermit got a 2 on the first one, but he scored better on the second. So saving scores, and we are all set with summative 3. Perry or Jeff, is there anything else that I should mention while I'm here on this right-hand toolbar for folks?
Could you maybe show where you add comments that would appear on the report card for the entire class?
Yeah, I was gonna go to that.
Okay.
I was just talking about this specific assignment.
That omnibus is dismissed.
Can you show where to edit the assignment?
Yep. Sorry. Go back to the assignment list. So just to grading, assignment list. This pulls up your assignments. Jeff wants me to edit summative 3, so I come over here to this little pen icon, and that would allow me. It pops up that original box, and I could edit away. Is that good, Jeff?
Yep, sounds good.
Okay.
The only thing I'll mention if you'll go back to the scoring page on summative 3,
Yeah.
every now and then you might find when you're entering scores, they'll appear purple instead of black. And that is an indication that they are not being counted in the final grade. That may be intentional on your part, but if it's not, you would need to go and edit the assignment. And if we go back to the edit assignment, I can show you what you would check there. So this is when your scores are showing up purple.
So assignment list, edit.
And then if we go to the edit pen there.
Yep.
And if you've chosen collected only for the score type, you would need to change that back to something, anything, points, just temporarily.
Omnibus is dismissed. Omnibuses are dismissed.
Jeff, I think our location could have been better selected.
I like the echo.
That's good. Okay, so that's good to know. So you need to change this.
Well, yeah, just for a second though. So just change it to points or anything, and now you'll see that count in final grades checkbox.
Yeah.
So you just want to. That would be unchecked if your things were showing up purple. So you would just check it.
Yeah.
And then you could change your score type back to collected only.
I'll head down to the cafeteria.
So it's just something to be aware of. Sometimes I'll get teachers who have been doing that for weeks and not noticing or realizing that the purple scores were a problem, and then it's a pain to go back and edit them all. So the sooner you notice that your assignments or your scores are showing up purple, the better.
Okay.
That's all.
Good to know. All right, so the next thing I wanted to show everybody was how to enter comments so that they would appear on the report card. So I'm going to go down. So again, I'm clicking on grading, and I'm going to go down to standards. And a couple things to check out here. Before I get into the comments piece of this is this professional judgment indicator, this icon.
Pardon me, after school kids, I think you're supposed to go somewhere to get your snack first. Sorry about that.
Wow, this is good. All right, so the professional judgment indicator, every once in a while you will see on the score for your standards a little orange triangle in the boxes. That is telling you that, hey, you might want to check this score out. So when you've been assessing indicators for a while, the default for PowerTeacher Pro is to take the last 3 scores and average them together. So if you say, for example, have a student that on this indicator here has been getting 1s, but now all of a sudden they've gotten a 4, that professional judgment indicator may come up and say, hey, you might want to look at this, and is the student really at a 4, or do you want to average the last 3 scores? It allows you to override, essentially. And in a proficiency-based system, you really want to consider that the most recent score is pretty much the indication that a student has met that proficiency. So it's something for you to think about. I know Last year, people were really confused about that professional judgment indicator, but that is intention. Yeah, go ahead, Barry.
Can we show them how to look at the graph? So let's say if you clicked on that too.
Yep.
And then, so over there on the right, on the score inspector, above Kermit's name, you'll see that same symbol, the circle. And if you click on that, it should pop open a little graph, which isn't very interesting for this kid, but this would show as many times as that indicator had been assessed, all the scores would be there on that graph. And you could see, the progression of scores. And so that just helps you make that decision of whether it's the right score or whether you should override it.
Yeah, great. I don't think I've ever looked at that before. That's slick.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, good to know. Okay, so to put a comment into to get on your report card, you want to look for this little text box icon above the proficiency. So graduation proficiency science, you'll see there's this blue little text box icon. So if you click into that that box below for each student, you will see that this gets generated. This text box gets generated over here, and you can see I have put in a comment for Kermit. There's two kind of comment types that we've been talking about within OCSU for report card purposes. One being, a comment about the student and how they're progressing. The other is, a general comment about the learning that has been happening. So, if you take, for example, the summative 3 that I just did, I might put in that, we've been working on, seasons in class, and Kermit is progressing towards the standards. So, understanding. So that's my comment for Kermit. If you are looking to fill your other comments, there is a way to do that as well. Obviously, with Kermit being in this particular comment, I wouldn't want to auto-fill everything. But if you just had, we've been working on understanding how seasons change, you can fill that. No, so I accidentally had put in one for Grover. So you don't want to have any comments in there. Let me just remove that. Save. Come back here. Comments only. Oh, that's not. Sorry, that didn't seem to be coming up. No, it did come up. Okay. So, and then you could go in and add your own comments. So Grover is great. Grover is super, right, Jeff?
That's right. Super Grover.
All right, and then we can save it. So now, we're starting to run out of time here, so I want to be cognizant of that. I know we only scheduled a half hour here, but last thing I want to show you is that, so we've entered comments, we've entered scores. I want to come back to PowerSchool main page, and I want to generate a report card. So new this year is this report cards quick link over here on your navigation. A lot of folks have been going to reports like they used to in the past to try and run report cards. This is a much more friendly way to do that. So clicking on this report cards link, you can generate your report cards right here to see what they look like. Perry, do you want to quickly just talk about the difference? In the past, when I've just gone right through homeroom, it's pulled up everything. And kind of seems the same if I do language arts and science. It doesn't seem to matter. Is that true or not?
This, in your case, because you have those same 2 fake students in all your classes,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter which you choose. What this selection is about is choosing which students you're printing a report for. So if a teacher had a different group of kids in their language arts section versus their science section, for example, that's what they would be doing here, is picking what group of kids they were printing reports for. Or as you see below, it lists, you can print it by class, or you could print it by specific students further down on the list.
Yep.
But so if you've got all the same kids in all your classes, it doesn't matter which one you choose. It's not about the content of the report card, it's just about who are you printing it for.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm just going to select homeroom then, and then I'll generate my report cards. And you can see this is a much slicker version of the report cards compared to last year. So at the top, we have our attendance, we have our developmental scale, which we talked about when we were scoring the summative earlier. And then you can see that I have my cross-curricular proficiencies in there for science, since Jeff and I are co-teachers in language arts, and he's been working with the kids on communication and citizenship. Got some scores. They've actually shown up in quarter 2, so that might be, again, a date selection issue. And then here are the content area proficiencies. You can see the scores that I put in there. Also, the teacher comment, which we auto-filled. Then Jeff's language arts class and his personal comment about Kermit. So you can see it's again, a much slicker version, especially with the way that we have our indicators. Those are scored individually, but they also give an overall score for the big bucket or the big proficiency. But then the nice thing is being able to look at the comments for each of the content areas, as opposed to them just being at the end of the report card. You can also do a general comment that shows up on the bottom, especially if you are, say, like a kindergarten teacher. And the way that you would do that is if you were in PowerTeacher Pro, you would do it right through your homeroom. So you would create a assignment.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. You want to tell me? I forget how we do that.
So you'd do the same thing you did. It's just that you'd be in your homeroom. So you'd go to the grading icon and the standards. That's
right.
And then again, that first column, the gp.tc,
yeah,
that's where, so that comment would be a general comment that would just go at the end of the report card and not be attached to any specific subject area. So it's possible for teachers to do both things or one or the other.
That's right. Yeah, great. Yeah, so TC just stands for teacher comments, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Perfect. All right. Well, I think we covered almost everything, unless you think there's something else that we should go over here, Jeff and Perry.
I think that hits all the major points.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Well, sorry about the announcements in between that. Hopefully they're not too distracting when we post that on the OCSU website. So yeah, next steps for this webinar, it has been recorded and it will be put on our OCSU YouTube channel. It'll be available for people to check out. So, alrighty, I think that's it. So thanks everybody, and good luck out there.